Hi there, welcome back to Patty Cake. Today, as promised, I'm going to give you a demo on how to make soft layered Maharashtrian chapatis, also called ghari chipodi in Marathi. And I'll show you the recipe with lots of tips and important instructions. This recipe involves technique at every step, and I'll explain it all to you, reveal every secret for making perfect chapatis that will stay soft even the next day. No matter if you use flour ground in a local mill from wheat of your choice or if you use packaged ready-made atta. Okay, now let's dive straight into today's tutorial, which could well be the most detailed one on the internet. Now, let's get started. Let's begin with the flour. To make soft chapatis, you need to start with superfine flour made from the right variety of wheat. Now, if you want to buy the wheat yourself and get it ground in the local mill, the two best varieties are Lokwan and Sharbati. But if you're like me and you prefer to use ready-made wheat flour or atta, go for any of the reputed and well-established brands like Ashirwad, Fortune, Pillsbury and some others. But always sift the flour or at least loosen it like this before you knead it into a dough. Today I am using just 1 cup of flour, the right quantity for learning how to make chapatis. But not just beginners. Today's video is also for those of you who make chapatis at home but are frustrated because they don't turn out soft. To the flour, I'll add a little less than half a teaspoon of salt. You could skip the salt if you want. I like to add salt because I think it makes the chapatis tastier. Next comes the oil that keeps chapatis soft. I like to add a little oil at the beginning and also a little at the end. So at this stage, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of oil. But I'll add half a teaspoon more later on. I add 1 teaspoon per cup of wheat flour. To knead the dough, we'll use warm water. For 1 cup of atta, you'll require approximately half a cup of water, maybe a little less or a little more, depending on the variety of wheat your atta is made from. But first, let's make a well in the center. We'll start by adding around half of the water and then add additional water a little at a time. I'm going to show you the kneading in real time, without any cuts in the shooting, because kneading the dough right is an important step. The better you knead the dough, the softer your chapatis will be. However, you can't be impatient about getting all the skills and steps right at the very first attempt. It's like learning to paint. You may understand all the techniques, but you won't be able to create a masterpiece the very first time you take a brush in your hand and move it across a canvas. You'll have to practice and practice many times before you can create a painting you'll be satisfied with. The same applies to making chapatis. The more times you practice, the better you'll get. But in this video, I'm going to give you such thorough instructions that it will make it that much easier for you to make soft chapatis even with less practice. Once the dough comes together, knead it by stretching it and then folding it back into itself. Like this. The dough is getting softer and easier to knead now. It should be medium soft, not too soft, because then you won't be able to roll it out easily. It will keep sticking to your rolling board and you'll have to add more dry flour to it, which in turn will make the chapatis less soft. On the other hand, if the dough is not soft enough, if it's too firm, your chapatis will be drier. I think I'll add the remaining water as well. Remember, each time you add water, you have to knead the dough. Now it seems right. It took me around 5 minutes to knead the dough. Now let's add in the remaining half teaspoon of oil and knead the dough lightly for just a few seconds. Let's shape it into a ball. And then drizzle a few drops of oil on it. It should be coated with the oil to keep it from drying. Now I'll cover it and let the dough rest for at least 15 minutes. Resting the dough is also an important step. Okay, 15 minutes are up. Let's check the dough. Let's roll it into a log and then divide it into balls. If you make just 4 balls, the diameter of your chapatis will be as big as that of your rolling board. But as a beginner, you'll be better off starting with smaller chapatis. You can attempt making larger ones only once you've gained some confidence in chapati making. So today, we'll divide the dough into 5 balls for making medium-sized chapatis. Let's break off a portion. Fold the dough inwards and then roll it to make a ball with a smooth surface. Let's make the second ball. You can see the dough can be stretched like this. That indicates it has been kneaded well. The dough balls are all ready. To make the chapatis, we'll need some oil and some loose dry flour. Add a generous amount of flour to the rolling board. Roll a dough ball in it. Then flatten it and roll it out into a small disc around 3 inches in diameter. Drizzle a few drops of oil on one half of it and spread the oil. Then sprinkle some dry flour over this and fold it over into a semicircle. Then drizzle a few drops of oil on half of this as well. Sprinkle some dry flour on it and fold it over into a quarter circle. Let's press the edges and seal them. And dust the folded dough with flour and set it aside. Let's roll another ball out. Once you can make good chapatis, you could skip the dusting with flour between layers. The addition of dry flour is just a way of making it easier for the layers to stay separated and for the chapati to puff up while frying, even if as a beginner you've exerted a little more pressure than necessary on the chapati while rolling it out. That done? Next, we'll have to roll each of these into a chapati. Now here's what experienced cooks do. They roll the first chapati out, but whilst frying it on the tawa, they simultaneously roll out the second one. As a beginner, it's impossible to do this. That's why, as an alternative, I suggest that while learning to make chapatis, it would be best to first roll out all the chapatis and then fry them one by one. But don't roll out more than 6 at a time. Now to make soft fluffy chapatis with separate layers inside, you have to remember 2 things. First, use as little flour as possible while rolling out the chapatis. And second, while moving the rolling pin over the chapatis, apply as less pressure on them as possible. Now let's roll the first chapati. Dust the rolling board with flour and coat the folded dough with it. It's a little tricky to transform this triangle shape into a circle, but I'll show you an easy way to do this. Push in these 2 corners of the triangle like this and then stretch this edge out with your rolling pin. Turn the dough around through a quarter circle or 90 degrees and then draw down this 3rd corner like this. And there you have it, a small circle which we'll roll into a chapati. Now I've simplified the rolling out procedure for you. So in the beginning, just follow my steps, okay? To start with, move the rolling pin with light pressure on just one half of the chapati disc. Turn the chapati a little and roll out one half again, lightly, and repeat the process till you expand the chapati a little in all directions. Experienced chapati makers, however, roll out the chapati and get it to turn simultaneously by moving the rolling pin over the dough with a light hand, like this, which is a quicker way of rolling out the chapatis. Just remember not to grip the rolling pin tight. Just hold it lightly and let it turn freely as you move it over the chapati, like this. But whether you turn the chapati round manually or pick up the quicker way of doing it, just remember not to press down hard on the chapati while you're rolling it out. Now let's dust a small amount of flour on the chapati, flip it over, dust the other side too with a little flour, and then repeat the process of rolling the chapati out on this side as well, just as you did on the other side. Next, move the rolling pin lightly down the center of the chapati from top to bottom, first this way and then this other way, in a perpendicular direction to the first one. Again, remember not to apply too much pressure as you expand the chapati some more into a slightly oval shape. Then turn it through a quarter circle and repeat the movement of the rolling pin down the center again to get a circular chapati. Finally, just gently pull the dough out a little all around the edges, like this. The diameter of this chapati will be around 7 inches and it will be just slightly thicker towards the center. Now dust some flour on a thali and sprinkle some on the rolled out chapati too. Then transfer the chapati to the thali. Let's roll out the next chapati. Don't fret too much about getting the shape right. It doesn't matter if the chapati is not round. Just focus on how you roll it out. After rolling it out, you could move your fingertips along the edges to make sure there are no bumps anywhere. Let's dust some flour on it and transfer it to the thali. Let's continue with the rolling. When you come to the last chapati, it will be time to turn on your stove and heat your tawa or griddle for around 3 minutes or so. Adjust the flame to medium-high and then set the tawa on the burner to heat. To make good chapatis, you have to fry them on a hot tawa. I'm using a non-stick tawa because I find it more convenient to use. But my mother had an iron tawa, whereas my mother-in-law used an aluminium one. But both of them used to make excellent chapatis. If you prefer to use one of these, remember you'll have to first spread a little oil on it, and then once it gets heated, you can transfer the first chapati to it. You have to add oil only in the beginning to season the tawa and then fry all your chapatis. Okay, I'm done with the rolling and my tawa has been heating on a medium-high flame for around 3 minutes. When the tawa is hot enough, you will be able to hold your hand over it like this for not more than a few seconds. Let's dust off any flour sticking to the first chapati and transfer it to the tawa. Immediately move it around briefly to make sure the tawa is not overheated. The chapati should move easily. Usually, frying the first chapati will help you realize if you need to reduce the heat or increase it. In just a few seconds, the chapati should form small bubbles on the top. That's when you have to flip it. Now the chapati will start forming bubbles on the other side too, and even start puffing slightly. Drizzle a little oil on it and flip it over. The chapati will now puff completely. Sometimes you might have to press the chapati down lightly with a spatula to coax it to puff fully. Drizzle oil on this side as well and flip the chapati over. Then move it around on the tawa. By now, the chapati will have small brown spots all over it. If the chapati has large black and brown patches, it will indicate you need to turn down the heat a little. Now, flip the chapati over. Let's take this chapati off the tawa. Then hold the puffed chapati vertically over a plate and squash it to help separate the layers and release some of the steam from inside it. Then smoothen it out and transfer it to an upturned sieve or colander to prevent too much steam from condensing below the first chapati and making its underside soggy. Let's fry the second chapati. Occasionally, a chapati could develop a crack like this one, making the steam escape and stopping it from puffing perfectly. In that case, just press down on the crack for a few seconds to block the leak and continue as if the chapati has puffed fully. Even if your chapati does not puff up fully, don't fry it for a longer time on each side. I usually fry chapatis just twice on each side or maximum thrice. Don't continue heating the chapati trying to get it to puff fully. Believe me, even partly puffed chapatis will be soft and delicious. Just don't over fry them or they'll become stiff. It won't matter too much if you can't get this step right, so don't worry about it. I'll place this chapati over the first one. Okay, now for the last chapati. I am used to flipping the chapatis with my fingers. But when you're new to chapati making, you could use a spatula for flipping chapatis throughout the frying procedure. It's done. I'll now turn off the flame. Here are the chapatis we just made. See, the underside of the bottommost chapati is not soggy. And all the chapatis are so soft and flexible, not stiff at all. And when you open them out again, they are just the same as before. They revert to their original shape. Fluffy and fried perfectly. These chapatis will stay soft till the next day. Super soft chapatis could be the highlight of any meal. Sometimes you may cook a number of delicious dishes, but if your chapatis don't turn out well, the meal won't be enjoyable. That's what I feel. What do you think? Am I right? Let me know through the comments box. Now let me tear a chapati open. Look how soft and flaky it is and how easily you can tear it. And see the layers inside. Do try out my recipe. I learned to make chapatis by trial and error, and it took me a long time to master the art and techniques of making soft chapatis. But I have revealed to you all that I learned on my own. And I really hope this video will make the learning process shorter for you. Follow all the steps I have shown you, and it won't be long before you too can make soft, layered chapatis like these in your own home. If you found this video useful, please don't forget to support me by giving it a thumbs up and liking, sharing and subscribing. Until we meet again with my next recipe, take care and happy cooking!